The clip opens mid-breath, Crockett already leaning forward, Cruz already tightening his jaw. No easing in, no polite scene setting, just tension waiting to detonate. A staffer shifts behind them, reading the room the way Texans read a storm front. Crockett asks a question that sounds simple but lands like a fuse. Cruz answers too confidently, too quickly, and the timing is off enough to draw eyes. You can feel the stakes in the way neither one blinks. Energy policy, political pride, a rivalry that's been simmering under every committee hearing they've shared. Then, Crockett's tone drops, quiet, precise, and the air changes. That's the moment viewers lean in, sensing the pressure spike before it hits. The hearing hasn't exploded yet, but the fuse is already moving. Crockett begins with a tone so controlled it feels intentional, like she's calibrating the room before she swings. She asks Cruz to define energy independence, each word spaced just enough to sound harmless. Cruz leans back, gives the practiced Texas swagger answer, broad, proud, padded with talking points. She lets him finish 2 sentences before slicing in. Senator, define it, not describe it. A couple staffers glance up, sensing the shift. Cruz clears his throat, tries again, slower, but still drifting into rhetoric. Crockett tilts her head, small, sharp, unmistakable. It lands like a pressure warning. She repeats the question, tighter this time. No wiggle room. Cruz pauses. Too long, and the room freezes on that half-second silence. She clocks it instantly, eyes narrowing just enough to show she's found the first crack. Cruz forces a smile, the defensive kind, that never reaches the eyes. Crockett doesn't blink. Senator, Texans deserve clarity. Start with the part you left out. The line drops, like a quiet dare, and the room knows the hearing just changed temperature. Crockett shifts to numbers without warning, clean figures, straight comparisons, no place to hide. Cruz nods like he's ready, but his answer trips on the first statistic. A half-beat stall. The room hears it. She moves in immediately. So, which version is accurate, your floor speech or your press release? Cruz tightens his jaw, goes for a longer explanation, hoping length equals authority. Crockett cuts him off mid-clause. Senator, pick one. A couple aides exchange the kind of glance that registers trouble before it's spoken. Cruz pivots to a different year. Wrong move. She snaps back with the corrected timeline, her voice flat, surgical. He tries humor to soften the blow. It lands with a thud no one laughs at. Crockett doesn't even acknowledge it. Let's stay on the math, she says, the words hitting like a lock clicking shut. Cruz exhales through his nose. Controlled frustration, barely. Crockett places the next statistic on the table like a trap she already knows he'll step into. Explain this discrepancy, she says, and the phrase hangs there, cold and unavoidable. Cruz shifts in his seat, posture tightening. The room leans in, not loudly, just a collective tilt toward the scent of a corner forming. Crockett waits exactly 1 second longer than comfortable. Then, Senator, if the numbers were solid, you'd answer faster. Crockett circles back to his past interviews like she's just clarifying. But the precision is too sharp to be casual. Cruz insists he never said the line she's referencing. Firm, confident, almost relieved to swat it away. She doesn't flinch. She reads the quote back to him word for word, cadence identical to the recording. A ripple moves across the staff bench, small, quick, and impossible to ignore. Cruz blinks hard, recalculating, trying to remember which version of himself said what. He reaches for a qualifier. She overlaps him by half a syllable. Senator, you said it, on camera. 3 months ago. His jaw sets, but the rhythm of his reply falters, just enough to show the dent. Crockett presses. So were you misinformed then, or misleading now? The room stiffens at the double bind. He has no clean exit. Cruz leans forward like posture alone might rebuild authority. It doesn't. She drops the next contradiction before he settles back, hitting him mid-adjustment. His rebuttal comes tangled. Too many clauses. Too little control. Crockett watches the slip unspool in real time. No reaction. Just that stillness she uses when she knows gravity is doing her work. "Senator," she says quietly, "your words are stepping on each other." And the room knows that's the moment the narrative tilts. Cruz raises his voice first. Quick, sharp, meant to reclaim authority. Crockett doesn't match the volume. She answers with a clipped correction that stops him mid-breath. "Not what I asked, Senator." The words hit harder than a shout. Cruz exhales through his teeth, trying to mask irritation with faux composure. She moves to federal subsidy data. Numbers he praised last year, condemns today. He starts to explain the shift, but she's already laying the contrast on the table. 2 lines. Perfectly aligned. Unavoidable. Cruz falters, caught between yesterday's certainty and today's performance. A silence drops. Tight, heavy, judgmental. You can feel staffers freeze like they're afraid to breathe wrong. Crockett leans in just slightly. "Help me understand, Senator. When did supporting Texas infrastructure become a liability?" Cruz reaches for indignation, but his tone wavers. Half a pitch off, enough to expose the strain. She doesn't blink. "Or," she adds, "is the liability that the record contradicts you?" The line lands like a pin pulled from something pressurized. Cruz's reply catches in his throat, the comeback forming slower than the moment demands. And the room feels that stall. The exact second his footing slips for real. Crockett lifts a single sheet. No flourish. No theatrics. Just the quiet confidence of someone holding a loaded fact. Cruz doesn't look worried until he spots the seal in the corner. His expression stalls. Half a breath. Half a blink. Just enough for the room to register something's wrong. "This is from your office," Crockett says, tone flat as a verdict. She slides the document forward like a mirror he didn't ask to see. It shows data directly contradicting the argument he's been defending all morning. Cruz starts to deny it. Instinct, reflex. But stops mid-sentence as his eyes catch the timestamp. The room reacts in a single, muffled pulse of air. Not loud, just a sharp collective, "Oh shit," everyone pretends they didn't make. Crockett waits. No pressure, no follow-up. Just stillness. The kind that forces him to feel every pair of eyes on him. Cruz forces a chuckle. Thin, defensive, already cracking. "That's not the full context," he mutters, voice sliding off its usual cadence. She tilts her head, barely, and the room tightens like it heard a trap close. "Senator," she says, "your staff submitted this analysis as your official position." He swallows. Hard. "Are you retracting it today?" He opens his mouth, but nothing coherent comes out. Just fragments, qualifiers, a verbal scramble. Crockett doesn't interrupt. She lets the meltdown bloom in real time. Cruz shifts in his seat, tries to reclaim posture, but his shoulders betray him. Angled, defensive, cornered. Aides behind him look down at their papers like eye contact might burn. Crockett finally leans in, voice low, steady, precise. "So which is false, Senator? Your argument today, sir, or your own data?" The question hits like a floor dropping out. And the room knows he has no safe answer. Cruz tries to restart the narrative with confidence he doesn't have anymore. Broad language, steady tone, the whole "let me reframe this" maneuver. Crockett lets him talk just long enough for the wobble to show. Then she cuts clean. "Thank you, Senator. So you're confirming Texas relies on federal infrastructure support?" The room snaps to her, like they heard a trapdoor open. Cruz freezes. Tiny, barely visible because he knows she just flipped his defense into an admission. He shakes his head, slow, unsure, trying to craft a denial that won't contradict his own paperwork. It's impossible. Everyone in the room can see the math. Crockett doesn't raise her voice. She just repeats his phrasing from 10 minutes earlier, each word a precise inversion. You said, and I quote, "Federal intervention undermines Texas autonomy." She taps the document. But your analysis says the opposite. Cruz leans forward, hands clasped like bracing himself might stop the slide. Senator, that's not... She slices the excuse in half. Your words or your data. Pick one. A flash of irritation crosses his face. Quick, defensive, revealing. And the gallery catches it. That half second where ego overtakes strategy. He tries to salvage ground, claiming he was speaking broadly. But Crockett is already turning the blade. So broadly, she says. You contradicted your own findings? A soft, stunned quiet spreads behind them. No murmurs this time. Just pure, focused tension. Cruz stammers through a revision of his stance. Crockett listens with the stillness of someone watching a tower lean. Senator, she says finally, you've now affirmed the very dependence you opened this hearing denying. He blinks, slow, heavy, like the realization lands a second too late, and the room watches the reversal seal itself around him. Crockett fires the first question fast, tight, binary, impossible to dress up. Cruz answers with a half paragraph anyway, padding every edge. She immediately stacks a second question on top of it, narrower, sharper. His reply stumbles over the first one, timelines crossing, logic slipping. Before he can recover, she drops the third question, the one that closes all side doors. Cruz hesitates, searching for a route that doesn't exist. Aides behind him shift in their seats, a quiet ripple of recognition. He defaults to the safest thing he has left, a talking point, smooth, pre-polished, utterly irrelevant. Crockett cuts straight through it. Senator, that doesn't answer the question I asked. The line lands hard, clean, undeniable, almost clinical. Cruz's mouth stays open a beat too long, the aborted rebuttal hanging there. Crockett leans back slightly, not triumphant, just certain. That response, she says, is what people give when every factual option contradicts them. A low exhale slips across the room, the kind that means everybody heard the cage lock. Cruz tries to jump back in, but the rhythm is gone, his footing scrambled. Every time he starts, she reminds him of the exact question he still hasn't answered. 1, 2, 3 repetitions, each one tighter, each one stripping away his verbal cover. By the third, he isn't responding. He's reacting, defensive, clipped, cornered in plain view. Crockett lets the silence stretch just long enough to make the point. Senator, she says quietly, if your answer can't survive the question, that is the answer. Crockett goes still before the final question, a deliberate pause that changes the temperature of the room. Cruz braces like he knows what's coming but can't shape the defense fast enough. She asks it slow, precise, forcing him to confront the contradiction on record, not in theory. He reaches for a neutral answer, something safe, something broad. It dissolves halfway out of his mouth. Crockett restates the contradiction in one clean line, locking it into the transcript like a weight dropping. No embellishment, no spike, just the truth, pinned in place. Cruz tries to reopen ground he lost an hour ago, but the room doesn't move with him. Every pair of eyes stays on Crockett, not him, and he feels it, that quiet shift of credibility leaving his side of the table. She closes her folder with the softest snap, a sound that lands louder than his entire defense. Let the record reflect, she says, steady as bedrock. The senator has offered no clarification. Cruz exhales hard, shoulders sinking in a way he can't hide. The momentum is gone, the posture is gone, the argument is over. A thick, heavy stillness settles. Not explosive, not viral loud. Just the weight of a narrative that can't be put back together. Crockett rises first. Cruz doesn't. And the room understands exactly how this hearing will be remembered. The hearing room empties slowly, like everyone's trying to process what they just watched. Cruz lingers in his chair, still replaying the moment his argument folded in on itself. Crockett walks out steady, not triumphant, just certain of the record she locked in place. Staffers whisper in pairs, not about policy, but about the silence that landed after her final line. That kind of silence doesn't fade. It follows careers. Cruz finally stands, shoulders heavy, the weight of the contradiction hanging exactly where she left it. No spin, no rescue line, just the aftermath of a confrontation he couldn't control. For viewers, the question isn't whether Crockett exposed him. It's how far the fallout will spread now that the moment is public. Did Cruz lose the debate, or did the record defeat him for her?